Have they done like a net CO2 emission thing for like an EV vehicle where it's like, all right, because it takes X amount of like CO2 emissions if we're going to use that as a barometer to like make the battery.
Right.
Like how long do you have to drive it before you start
before the
saving
net,
the world?
So it gets a little tricky because, and we're assuming the car doesn't burn to the ground, by the way. That's a different story.
That's a huge, you have to average those in.
Yeah. Assuming normal operations. It actually, your net CO2 depends on what state you live in. States that, it makes the math complicated because if you live in California and your electrical power comes from a cleaner source versus living somewhere that's burning coal, it's a bit of a different thing.
God damn it, you're right.
Most cases, it's cleaner to drive an EV total than it is to drive a inefficient gas car. If you're talking about a very efficient gas car like a Corolla,
the real problem, though, is that it doesn't matter anyway because the percentage of CO2 emissions that come from, like, I don't know, American cars just a drop in a bucket.
Yeah, I mean, it's a global problem. It's a global problem. We all obviously
but it's too late. It's too late.
I don't know if it's too
never
late,
say never.
It's too late.
Borderline.
I don't know why people.
How do we know?
Come on, dude. I don't know why nobody wants to give up on this yet. Like
just give up on it. Double down.
No, don't double down. Don't double down. I'm not saying that, but like
there was a lot of climate deniers that took a real big leap from it's not real to it's real, but it's too late. Like there's a lot of people that took
I never understood climate deniers because I was indoctrinated from like kindergarten. I remember this like video we watched with like pennies stacking up to explain CO2 emissions because a kid can understand a penny, and it's like this. Like when we get $18, we all die or something like that. I don't remember what the moral of the story was, but I remember at 5.5 years old being like, the world's getting hotter because of like burning things and making smoke, and we need to burn less things. So like, and from 5, I knew that.
As Americans,
I'm 35. I'm 35.
Kyle, do you remember this? Like, I remember getting those lessons also. I'm a little younger than you, but I remember like the end point of like, and calamity happens whatever year they told us. I remember my thought being like, why am I even in school? What am I learning for? Like, can I just go home?
We're gonna die anyway.
The world's gonna end.
I just do art?
I get my high school diploma and then walk out into the sea and drown. Like that's what they made it sound like. And I'm like,
shouldn't we learn boat building now?
Yeah, it seems like math is a thing of the past unless we're building an ark. That's what we need to be doing.
Yeah,
you're still teaching me about fucking.
My honest
American
opinion
history.
on the thing is that like China and India, these like multi-billion people countries that are trying to like catch up. China's pretty much there with GDP.
Yeah,
they're trying to like catch up industrially speaking, and they're not done with the dirty part of their economy yet. And we're not quite finished with ours to give you the real timeline of what's actually going to happen. No matter what happens, China is not going to turn it off.
In some cases, like we're like with electric cars might make our urban air cleaner, and that's okay. That's good. I like, cleaner urban air is good, but we're outsourcing our filth to wherever the lithium mines are, and so
I'm okay with that. See, just
I'm not. I don't really like that.
I want to be clear that like I'm neither on the left nor the right of this issue. I'm on the greed part of it. I'm the Kyle side of the issue. Yes. You're telling me I can get cleaner air and someone else has to deal with a lithium mine. Okay, great fucking deal. Sounds like someone already is negotiating for me.
This is a good argument.
This is why it's good to be an American, because somewhere along the way, Taylor, someone sat across from a negotiation table and they were like, "All right, we get the clean air and you get the lithium mines. Deal?" And somehow or another, the United States made sure that the other guy said, "Yeah, yes, sir, that'll be fine."
Oh, you don't want to do that? Well, we already have 14 military bases in all your key cities. Oh.
You're not wrong. On the other hand, the flip side of that is equally selfishly, I drive an electric car not because I think it will save the planet, because I think it's fucking nice. It's just nice It's smooth and it's fast and it's fucking quiet, and I charge it at my house, and
I think
the experience of driving it is fucking nice.
as far as the environmental stuff, I think that we need to definitely need to cut up. Whenever I see a goddamn plastic straw stuck in a turtle's nose, I feel so goddamn bad because I go through so many straws a day, like dozens. It's probably mine.
We're finally here in California.
I cut them into little pieces.
If you do, good for you.
No, it makes it so much worse.
I do.
What I do is I reinforce my six pack can holders.
I'll cut the six pack. I'll cut the six pack.
I with wire. I put wire around it. Those little fucking turtles won't know what hit them.
You fucking barbed wire the six pack holder. That's fucked up.
Just the most evil person you could be. There's just evil. There's literally nothing to gain.
You know what was extremely pimp? When I was in Italy a couple of years ago, and they used pasta as straws, a fucking tube of pasta.
Yeah,
I've seen those.
To my lips.
They've got
sticks to your.
I've seen at some stores they have the six pack holder that almost looks like cardboard.
Yeah.
Now I've seen those, and you don't have to cut those.
Yeah.
But
you can just
I'm fine. I'm fine with shit like that, but I'm not fine with the paper straws because
paper straws are terrible.
It doesn't work. You have to sprint through your drink, and if you don't sprint through your drink, you need a new paper straw every time. Sticks to your lips.
What if you tried to reuse your paper straw after drinking milk?
You'd probably get sick.
How bad would it smell on day 2?
You like have
the environment.
We got metal straws in my house, and we refrigerate them joints. It's kind of nice.
Okay,
refrigerated straw is luxurious,
especially for like if you had like some sort of fancy milkshake or something.
Yeah,
I've seen that's when I've seen metal straws.
The metal drink holder is the way to go. The metal water bottle lasts forever, and it's a weapon.
Now the weapon part's true. I like that.
Yeah, it's 42 ounces and it's made of steel. Like you could fuck somebody up with that.
Well, it's 42 ounces of capacity. What are you going to put in there? You got to weight that thing down. You're going to
lead,
like somebody.
Batteries. Definitely batteries. Lithium batteries. Mined in Africa.
Now you're making a bomb, dude. I've seen. So I remember we were doing this thing in Texas, and I was with a YouTuber called Richard Ryan. And a big part of he had these super high speed cameras before anybody had them. They were $250,000 each, and so he would shoot like expensive shit and record it in high speed, and it'd be a big video, like the brand new iPhone that everybody stood in line for. He'd shoot it with a 50 BMG and like 5,000 frames per second, and
it's all the simplicity of it is just I love it. I just love the simplicity of those ideas. Like the will it blend guy, loved it.
Sure. So we were we were doing that out in Texas, and he shot one of those hoverboards that are just the two-wheeled electric scooter thing. The lithium fire that it made was so fucking scary. Keep in mind, I was there. I just had driven a tank. I just had driven a tank through a house. And then they sealed me inside of it, and then they blew the house up on top of me. And then we went outside, and the scariest thing I saw that day was that fucking hoverboard going off. It was so fucking scary because it was a combination.
Did it like fireworks out, or did it did?
I've seen like a main power line go down, and so I've seen those big arcs of plasma before.
Yeah.
It was like arcs of plasma, but mixed with kids' firecrackers going off. It was so scary. Shit was popping off and moving around and big blue fireballs. And it's so goddamn hot.
There was a crash with a Tesla, I think it was a year or so ago, and it's on video from someone's dash cam. And the Tesla is fucking mobbing through this residential neighborhood and hits a fucking double yump and bottoms out twice, and then veers left into a house and explodes. Fucking, I don't want to laugh because the guy died, but it explodes like the 4th of July. You filled it with fireworks, and it was
Jesus Christ.
cells, lithium cells going all over the place. And it was one of the gnarliest car fires I've ever seen.
It's those things have always been scary. Anybody who's ever anybody listening, what you never ever want to do is take like the battery out of an old cell phone and hit it with a hammer. You would never ever want to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a bad thing to do.
Is it just it would just the impact of that start a massive fire?
Massive fire. It'll start cooking slow, and then it'll hit that chain reaction point, and the fizzling, and then it just goes off because if it crushes those cells together or something, and it just starts heating up hotter and hotter and hotter, and eventually.
Because with this car fire, like I didn't know if it was like
we used to do that all the time,
generated by bottoming out, or what it was that actually caused.
Oh, God knows in a Tesla, how big is that? Like I'm talking about cell phone. Cell phone batteries are scary.
Like Tesla is like 68. A Model 3 is like 6,800 laptop batteries put together.
My God, I had no idea it was that big.
Yeah.
Has this happened multiple times where it went up?
Yes.
Like in a Tesla?
Yes.
Holy shit, that's scary.
I don't want to say it's common, but like, if you just Google Tesla fire, and I don't want to purely single out Tesla, although
it's anything with a giant chunk of lithium in the back.
They do catch fire more than the other ones. But the boat that fucking my car was on, that had Volkswagen ID4s, that had Audi e-tron GTs, and it had Porsche Taycans. Now, had the boat made it to where they were towing it and they could investigate, you could find out which it was that actually started it. But now that fucker's on the bottom of the ocean, we'll never know. I
don't know. There might be enough money involved that they go down there and find out, depending on how deep it is.
Oh, dude, someone emailed me, and it was one of the dumbest emails I've ever gotten in my life. And they wanted me to fund some kind of search expedition to fucking salvage shit off this boat. And they were like, I will need $100,000 US for search and rescue.
Right. Wait, to dive down and bring the car back, the melted car?
It was beyond stupid.
It depends how deep it is, because like
I was at 1,000 meters. It's deep as fuck.
Okay, well that's
you're not getting nothing.
But
it was a lithium fire for 4 days. Where are you gonna burn up and bring up a bunch of melted fucking nothing?
A little historical fact that I think I still remember is I think the Lusitania went down in water that was more shallow than the boat was long.
Mm-hmm.
So like there are those places out there where it's like, oh yeah, let's just park up here and scuba down and grab a bunch of like like the emblems off of every Mercedes or something will be there's $500. Yeah, I mean, we're just scuba. Let's do it. Let's go all day.
I mean, if the boat hit a fucking iceberg and sank in 200 feet, there might be some kind of argument that going down there and salvaging something could be worthwhile. But after a 4-day lithium fire, I can't possibly imagine.
Dude, I guess I've never looked that closely at lithium fires. I'm watching a compilation of top Tesla fires.
Yeah.
I've seen cars on fire. These are malicious, angry fires that I watched the fucking fireman just sit there and just hard scope with
that doesn't matter
for 35
Electricity
seconds.
loves water.
And all it did was piss the Tesla off.
He needs an earth Pokemon. He can't use that water elemental.
Dude, I just saw a guy undoubtedly die on the highway from an explosion bigger than anything in the most recent Batman by an order of magnitude. It is I think he killed the person in the Sentra next to him. There's no. He didn't even get the door cracked. It was a boom. That's wild.
I mean, there's and it's not unique to Tesla. I don't want to unfairly crap on Tesla. I have lots of fair reasons to shit on Tesla. They do an unbelievably shady job with a lot of things they do.
What my favorite Tesla
that's EVs overall. You put a giant fucking battery. Nobody has magic batteries. Everybody building EVs right now does it the same way with a bunch of lithium. Basically laptop batteries fucking racked together. So there's no magic formula. Yeah.
They need one though. They need to figure something out that's a little bit better. They're finally the range now though.
Very scary.
Like the thing that EV has figured out. Okay, we're good on range.
Mm-hmm.
We figured the range thing out.
Yeah. And actually we're good on range, and we're good on chargers near major interstates. What we're not good at is the number of high speed chargers, and we're not good at the reliability of the chargers. So the Tesla supercharger network is very good. Mm-hmm. And because it's only for one brand, your credit card and all your bullshit goes in the car. And so all you got to do is pull up, plug in, and it just done. Whereas the other stuff, the Electrify America, the charge points, and all that stuff, because it's a bunch of different brands, you have to have an account with an app, and that app could suck, and the paying for the charge is.
I think that Biden mentioned something. I think they mentioned in the State of the Union that they were going to work more on the charging stations in the infrastructure bill.
Yeah,
so that would be good.
And it would be helpful. Yeah.
It doesn't matter until we're getting the electricity that goes into them from a clean place, and I'm okay with where the lithium mines are. Zach, could you tell me what hellhole?
Where's lithium come
Where's
from?
lithium come from? Don't say Russia. Because the answer is no, it doesn't anymore. It doesn't come from there anymore.
And we also want to see like subsidies for owners of apartment buildings to install chargers.
Can I guess?
In apartment buildings.
Taylor,
Africa.
I'm guessing Africa too.
Africa.
It looks like it's mined mostly in Australia and South America.
And more than 97% is refined in China.
Yeah, it looks like China's taking care of all the...
Sweet.
Well, at least if we're banking on it, we can trust them to provide us with a steady stream.
China! All right, China's got our back.
You think China would tactically withhold a useful resource sometime in the future? You're crazy.
How does China?
I have to admit, I did not think of nor know about Australia. That one, I probably should have known. I didn't know that one.
I mean, that's like America too. Like we've got that. They're down. I think of Australians as like part of the southeast of the United States.
They're like
no, I got it. They plug in right into the Gulf of Mexico. That's Australia. Like if you just took Australia and stuck it into the Gulf of Mexico, like everybody would be chill. Like no one would mind. Same language, like same culture, really. Like
same culture.
Yeah.
I love Australia. I haven't been in a long time, but last time I went, I had a great fucking time. What a cool place.
Yeah, they haven't had enough time to come up with a culture. Unlike us Americans.
Unlike us Americans. How long has Australia been a thing?
Longer than us, I think.
Well, but weren't they extant as like a prison colony for many years?
Yeah,
and that's why they're such like they're so into rugby and stuff now. They got to get that pent up aggression.
Tough as shit, dude.
I saw Biden ended the for-profit prisons with the private prisons for federal prison thing.
I like
that's great.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff that seems pretty good to me. I don't mind the environmental stuff. I saw that he's going to make like all of the federal like fleet electric.
By when? Was it 2035? Am I crazy? Yeah,
let me see when it says. I just read the headline. I didn't even consider the date. Biden electric vehicles federal.
And I was seeing some politicians did shady shit with Tesla because they bought up a bunch of stock before that was announced about the federal fleet.
Oh
yeah. Like
I hope they get
Nancy
busted.
Pelosi did it, and some other ones did too. Probably
toss her out. I recognize that she's good at politics and helps my team, but I'm not so attached to bad guys that I want them on my team. Fucking throw her in jail.
Did they get rid of those Republicans that did that shit recently?
No, they didn't.
Well,
not a single one of them.
They always get away with it.
Yeah. Well, now one of them lost an election. So actually two of them in Georgia did it, and they both lost.
Well, they should go to jail. Shouldn't have to lose an election.
Richard Burr in North Carolina did it. He's fine.
And I bet it's just one of those things. They all do it, so they're not going to hold each other's feet to the fire.
Yeah,
or a high enough percentage of them do it that it's not going to be a thing. They've all got skeletons in their closet.
It's like they have a professional courtesy to let the other people be criminals. You know, even if you're perfect and I'm not, it's like, well, that's just Woody's way, right? He kind of scams and makes insider trades, and
it's ridiculous.
It's not as many vehicles as I thought it was going to be. There's 645,000 vehicles in the federal government's fleet currently.
It's still a lot.
That is a lot.
Especially at Tesla prices. Oh, and about that guy, Daddy05. In June 2019, it was reported that Mike has started a SoundCloud channel uploading his music as Mikey M.
Mikey M.
Mikey.
Yeah.
What a rad dude.
If you want to support Daddy05 for some reason, that's how.
He was on 5 years of supervised probation following that initial thing. And then while on probation, like one of the things was like, you can't upload videos of your kid. They like started a new channel and he uploaded a video of his kid and they deleted that one. Then they went behind a paywall. Yeah, these people are not doing anything anymore.
So I actually
Good.
can't find anything that talks about when on the federal fleet. This article reads like kind of quickly. And the 2035 thing is General Motors said it would end the sale of all gas and diesel powered passenger cars and light utility vehicles by 2035. So GM says cars and light utility vehicles, which I guess is half-ton pickups and less, by 2035 will all be electric.
Yeah, I don't believe those far-flung.
Right?
Like China said that by I think 2060 they were going to be carbon neutral. Recently, did you see that?
Yeah, which is to say, the next gen can handle it. 40 years from now.
Not even like China is currently building either 200 or maybe 300 coal burning power plants, and that's just in China. They're funding a further 200 or 300 on several other continents, from Africa, Europe, and as well as Asia. And someone pointed out, but they're the number one manufacturers of solar and wind technology. Yeah, they produce that stuff using coal burning energy so that they can undercut the rest of the world's production and then sell that renewable energy to first world countries, which then makes their energy more expensive so that their coal burning thing just keeps making even more money.
Interesting that they're using... So coal in America is very expensive. It's the most expensive. You know, coal's dying in America. It's not because people hate the poison that it spews. It's because it's more expensive. It's one of our most expensive energy sources. Natural gas is much cheaper, and it happens to be cleaner, which is fortunate. But that's why everyone's switching from coal to natural gas. Solar and wind are both cheaper than coal. So that's interesting, too.
Not in China, though.
Yeah. So that's where I was surprised to learn that in China, coal was cheaper. I wonder why it's different. Is it
a volume thing? Like,
I would say because they've got so much of it and they pay the miners so little and there's no safety regulations.
Is it like a per capita thing where it's like, okay, once we have the panels set up per capita, it's cheaper to continue making solar compared to all the refinement and nonsense with oil? Or is it, so it's like the issue, like there just aren't enough solar panels? Like it's a volume problem. Like if we had enough, we could do it. Or
nuclear energy is going to be the answer whenever everybody stops being afraid of nuclear energy. It's going to be a good day.
That's probably the cleanest thing we can do.
Yeah, you just got the nuclear waste to deal with afterwards.
Just send that to the moon.
How do you get it there?
You just kind of aim.
What if you miss once?
You go like...
The moon has gravity, Kyle, so if you even get close, it just pulls it.
Then you have a really cool second moon that glows green and goes around the initial moon.
What if it doesn't quite make it out of the atmosphere? What if it...
Venus is... we'll get it out of the atmosphere. What year do you think it is? We can do that.
Every now and then...
Shoot at the sun?
I could show you a montage of rockets exploding in the atmosphere.
Yeah, but
none with nuclear waste on them.
Yeah,
try to make a strong argument there. None of those had nuclear waste. Okay, the nuclear waste will keep the rocket safe.
How much nuclear waste are we removing?
A massive amount.
But wait, that's a good question. I actually don't
literal
know.
Train loads of it.
Is it that big? Like, so can I say something?
They're putting it in Yucca Mountain right. They used a mountain to store it right now. There's so much of it.
I don't know if is it in Yucca Mountain? I always hear like they're gonna, but I don't know if they're doing it. But in any case,
pretty sure.
I think you're right that it's big. I learned that unrelated. This room is big enough. The office I'm in it's a decent room, but it's not big. It can hold all the vaccine we need to inoculate America. Like the amount of fluid isn't that high. So I was like, how big is nuclear waste? Is it? It's a 55-gallon drum enough? Is that like 4 years worth?
Yeah,
No.
I didn't know that either.
No.
I assumed it was like The Simpsons, where like they have one plutonium bar and it takes care of everything.
No, it's have you seen? It's those enormous rods those enormous rods.
Wait, they're not the size of glow sticks like they are in The Simpsons.
No, they're the size.
Homer accidentally
They're
brings
like
it home, he can
telephone
stick to him
poles.
back, and he's fine.
Kyle,
maybe
this
the
doesn't
telephone
sync
pole-
up with what I learned on The Simpsons. Are you
All right.
sure?
All right, we take telephone.
I went to the Kiowee nuclear power plant one time and took a tour, and they're huge.
Dude, I did too, and they gave me a simulated pellet.
Like I have seen them.
They gave me what they're like, this isn't a real nuclear power rod, but it's what they look like, and it was the size of a peanut M&M.
Well, then that's a terrible.
I think they have many of those in like a bigger rod or something like that, because it's those huge rods in that water tank, that cooling tank. That,
Okay, but
that glow.
What about this? You take those. I mean, it's a big rocket, so it can fit a bunch.
We're back to the rocket.
Yes, we're back to the rocket. You can fit a bunch of telephone poles in there, telephone pole shaped things, a huge amount of them, and you coat them all in special material yet to be invented, that in case it goes bad, it's covered. And you don't even need to do that, because I'm confident in our scientists' aim. You don't even aim it anywhere close that it can go bad. You just fire it deep out into space. It's somebody else's problem now. Just straight shot past the moon, not even towards other planets. Just, kind of out or towards the
Pretty
sun.
sure the cost would be just gargantuan.
Why?
Okay,
Because of how expensive it is to launch things into outer space.
Yeah, but if we're getting all our power so cheap, that money, a little bit of that money can go into firing our rockets into space covered with like plutonium or something.
But I mean, it's not free power. Like you've got to run the nuclear power plant, and then I don't like this because I know you're not serious.
I am serious.
Let me be serious.
The maintenance of a refinery, the oil fields, you think that's going to be less expensive than the maintenance of a nuclear power plant, where it's more centralized, fewer people needed to run it?
I know how big nuclear fuel is. I looked it up, and so the rods, it's a rod. It's 4 meters long, 12 feet ish, and the thickness they compared to a gel pen, right, which is like M&M thickness, but 4 meters long, and they fill those control rods with pellets, which probably is what they gave me when I went there. So it's a cylinder about the size of a peanut M&M, but it's like it's not whatever that is, a weird oval like an M&M. It's a perfect cylinder, and they put a bunch of those pellets, 4 meters worth, in a control rod, and then there's a bunch of control rods inside.
But the control rod has a lot of the smaller rods in it that are the size of a gel pen.
There's many control rods, and just looking at the picture, I would estimate 18, something like that. And so there's 18 4-meter rods, each of them holding like a thick ballpoint pen. But
how long does that last? Like, how long until that's depleted? Like, how much energy do you get out of that one?
I think it's a couple of years. I think it's like 3 years or something like that. Something like more than 1 or 2, but less than 5 or 6. I think, because I remember like the nuclear aircraft carriers. I read that those use a chunk of fuel the size of a golf ball for some like ungodly amount of time. Like a golf ball size chunk of uranium was enough to power one of those for like a year or something.
Like a nuclear submarine?
No, a nuclear aircraft carrier.
But is that the same thing they do for nuclear submarines? Does a nuclear submarine mean it's running on nuclear energy, or that it can fire a nuke?
Both. Well, our nuclear submarines do fire nuclear weapons, but I think there are nuclear submarines that don't fire nuclear weapons.
So I looked up the how long it lasts part, and they tend to replace the fuel in those rods every 2 years or so. They typically do it in spring or autumn when electricity demand is the lowest.
How expensive is it to make uranium?
You mean to refine uranium?
Or turn it into the shit we need that it's actually useful. Is that not nearly as bad as oil per amount of energy? I would guess.
I think what you want to know is how much electricity costs when it comes from a nuclear fuel plant, right? Would that answer it best?
Yeah, you'd have to know like per ounce of nuclear fuel rod, how many gigawatts of electricity are being produced, and like
just
do some
wanna
sort
know-
of cost analysis that way?
I want to know because I imagine like nuclear is so much more efficient,
It is. It definitely is.
like by a huge margin.
I mean,
Probably.
if they've got if like the uranium that fits into one of those tanks runs a nuclear power plant for 2 or 3 years, then I mean the answer is obvious.
We just put them all in Hawaii just in case.
But how do we get
We'll have a series of tubes
a series of tubes?
that will bring electricity from the island to the mainland. You know what? Let's put them close to our enemies.
Well, there's one fairly close to me. That's very comforting. I grew up real close to one, actually.
So
What do you have here?
this is the cost of electricity from various sources. Onshore wind is the cheapest, followed by solar, natural gas, geothermal, offshore wind. This is like over the water, coal, nuclear, and then natural gas at peak. Oh, I don't know what natural gas CC versus peak means.
I don't know either.
But
I would imagine that the issue here is like,
Not enough power plants or not enough nuclear plants. Right?
well, no, I would imagine the issue is here like, all right, so solar costs much less, right? Am I reading this right? The
Yes.
dollars, but you can't get as much solar because of the area
There's
that it takes to put the
panels.
not enough panels.
My imagination is I'm not sure. I'm guessing one, wind and solar, they're not reliable, right? That's what you're headed at. And the other is what makes it expensive? Is the reason coal expensive because the EPA checks on you? Is the reason nuclear is so expensive is because the government watches it so closely to dot all those I's and cross all those T's and not change anything about the way you do it for 40 years raises the cost. You know, if cowboys tried to do nuclear power, would it be cheap but dangerous, right? Let's not act like it's inappropriate to check on what they're doing. But like, where is the cost coming from? Because you could do solar with not much oversight.
Solar is the second coolest kind.
Yeah, you fuck up once, you melt a house down the road.
Which
Yeah.
in itself is kind of like it sucks, but it's
Kind
bad.
of fucking cool, right?
It's
Kind
not
of
as bad
badass.
but what happens if you fuck up once in nuclear is a much bigger deal.
You get a superhero.
Okay, you're winning me over.
Yeah.
What if it's a supervillain? Then you need to.
You gotta roll those dice. You gotta roll those dice, all right?
It's still kind of
Brendan.
cool.
We have to roll the dice and blow up another generator. We need to make a superhero to combat this villain.
Taylor, all we get is death.
Oh,
This isn't working like you
It didn't
said.
work again. They all just got lymphoma.
What we've learned is that it only creates villains. Ruins a lot of plans.
All we
Oh,
have are
right.
11 supervillains, and I can count them on two hands.
Yeah, I mean it is. This time we got a fire guy. It's kind of cool. You know, take wins where you can find.
I like the two hands. Yeah, I don't know. I would be all for the nuclear
Solar is
thing though,
probably the
because it
best
seems
idea if we make enough of the panels.
I don't know where do you. I just don't know where you put all those fucking the panels and stuff. What's really cool though is I saw where they had that one thing where they've got all the mirrors focusing the light onto the one collector in the middle. That's pretty cool to see.
I'm on the other side with the panel location. I'm like, every roof should be panels. We have so much surface area. Hardly any of Earth's surface area is covered with panels now. Roofs should be the default. And it doesn't really... It costs things in terms of money, but in terms of like quality of life, it costs nothing. You're not using your roof as like fun sunbathing areas or anything. Like it just sits there doing nothing all the time. It should be the de facto standard. I used to think that about cars. Like, why aren't cars just charging? Why aren't we just collecting energy? Apparently, it's like a total waste of time. But it gathers so little energy. They're like, we could do it, and it would like maybe power a fan that exhausts the hot air in the summer. Like that is a really low interest for me. Like that's,
Yeah, but if every house had one of those and it was always charging a battery and that battery was responsible for like the really low use stuff in your home, like maybe there was like one or two outlets that it used, like your I don't know, your hair dryer, you're keeping your electric shaver and your batteries charged and stuff, things like that, things that aren't like pulling a lot of amperage or whatever.
But AC, right? Maybe. Like I think it can do. I think it can do more than you're giving it credit for. It's not just going to do the dining room table lights like that. There's a lot of surface area on all these roofs.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that's not a. That seems like the sort of thing that I would be happy to have some sort of government funding for. It seems like you should. I don't know. It's just in all of our best interest to have one, like a solar roof.
It does seem like it'd be a little world improvement, wouldn't it? Like it's better than.
I'm sure the power plants would love it.
Yeah, there is a problem with inconsistent power delivery, right? Like that's an issue. I want power all the time. I've become accustomed to my sockets just always working. And it shouldn't matter what time of day it is, whether it's sunny out, whether there's snow on my solar panels, etc. So my expectation is that you, Mr. Nuclear plant or natural gas plant, whatever, you need enough capacity so that when you run at 100%, none of us feel any inconvenience. But I want you to operate at 15% capacity so we can use solar any other time. That's a lot to ask, right?
Well, it would charge a battery, right? So that like, you'd be drawing from the battery. So because obviously at night you still want your lights to work because that's when you need them,
especially at night.
Yeah, like I want to know what the carbon footprint of a fucking aircraft carrier is. Now I know the thing runs on like golf balls of uranium or whatever, but it ain't made out of golf balls of uranium. That thing was expensive. Like, what's the fucking environmental impact of that motherfucker?
Kyle, you're familiar with that They Did the Math subreddit.
Love it.
So there was a post on there that said that one of Taylor Swift's I think it was Taylor Swift took a flight to France to have like lunch or something. Like she wanted a baguette or something. So she flew a private jet over to France. And the tweet was that she had more carbon emissions on that sort of trip for funsies than you will create in an entire life of driving. So they're like, hey, somebody do the math on this. And it turned out to be untrue, but only by a little bit. The amount of CO2 she made on that flight is almost as much as on
a lot of kerosene she burned.
Life.
Yeah, that's a lot of fuel.
But that's fine. CO2, it's what plants crave.
That's actually true.
I know.
Idiocracy.
Yeah,
it has,
but I don't. That's what plants crave.
CO2 is what plants crave in a literal sense. So she really was just feeding trees.
That statistic you just quoted seems actually way better than I thought it would be. The Department of Defense would be the 55th worst polluter in the world if it were a country. I would have figured the amount of planes we have in the sky, the amount of aircraft carriers, like we'd have to be so.
You know what? I also think like say what you want about the EPA under various administrations, but we definitely don't allow cancer-causing burn pits out behind like
in our own country.
In our country, yeah, you know what I mean. Like, and they're not factoring in that the shit like that happens. Like, God knows what we lost like half a dozen nuclear weapons. Are we not going to count those as
the broken arrows?
Yeah.
We've lost,
a lot of nukes.
We're also not counting those toxic burn pits that happened in Iraq and shit. That's definitely not service connected.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Ooh, I think we did it. Like, the U.S. is so funny. Like,
right, let's guess.
20 years after we do something, we'll be like, "You were right. We did assassinate that person." Like, what are you gonna do about it? Yeah.
All right. Here's
what we do.
How many nukes do you think the United States has misplaced or lost over the years and
not recovered?
Not recovered. Yeah.
5 minutes ago, I would have said 0, but given the conversation we just had, 6.
Got 9. I got 16.
Okay, then 12.
You're saying 6, Woody?
Yes.
Pick a number.
16.
16. All right, I'm going to say 7. Zach, I'm not prepared.
Oh, I thought you had
I wanted to play too.
I was like, hold on, wait, you're guessing?
6.
You had the fucking answer?
Exactly.
It's
at least 6.
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, well, then any of us could be right. I love that you just posited a hypothetical with this air of like, I know the answer.
I knew we'd lost like several. I knew it wasn't one. It was like, yeah, that one time we lost a nuke, that was wild, right? It's like, yeah, every 10 years or so, just whoops.
I did a I did a video at one point of there was a B-52 or something that went down over North Carolina. We lost 2 nukes in Greensboro or Greenville, and they basically just gave up on one. They recovered like the bomb, the part that would make it explode, essentially. But then they basically just left the rest of it. It was like in a fucking sinkhole, and they were like, all right, well, this is like, if the U.S. government can't excavate it, it's fine. We'll just fucking buy this plot of land and seal it off.
Yeah, it's wild that we just lost a few. I think it's mostly, I think a lot of it anyway was because at the height of the Cold War and before ICBM technology became quite so prevalent, where we just had fleets of them or missile silos everywhere, they kept those planes in the air all the time, loaded with nukes.
It was called Operation Chrome Dome. We had stratofortresses or whatever doing hot laps around basically the northern hemisphere just to keep nukes in the air at all time.
So badass.
And then we lost them.
Yes, quite a lot.
That's so embarrassing.
It's not a big deal for us, though.
It's such a big thing to lose.
Don't worry, Taylor. We have more.
I think we lost some in Spain, Greenland. Like we lost a lot.
What if
I want a sci-fi movie where
finds the nuke?
The sci-fi movie that I crave, or even if it was just an anime or anything, just let me see this story. I want the aliens to show up and be like blown away by how well armed we are. I want them to be like, holy shit, there's 50,000 warheads. Yes, sir, they're on the way now. What? Well, there's nothing we can do then. That's it. And then they just all die, and then we harvest their technology. I just want that. I want the beginning of the story to be us just wiping the floor with an alien
Even
invasion.
in sci-fi, that would be far-fetched.
The end of the story is a nuclear winter.
Yeah,
we shoot
them into space. It would have to be
set. It would have to be set in the far future where we're at least somewhat
imagine this
to aliens.
Right, here's the scenario, because I just realized.
Like, would you ever show up at if you went to the most vast and impressive termite mound in all of Africa?
Silly.
Would you be like, wow, billions of these live here? Unbelievable technology.
I don't know.
I think it would be more like
if we're
like
on
a
our planet,
a hipster tour group shows up to like a warring race in the Amazon. Like, oh, holy fuck!
That's probably what it would actually be. We'd be like a TV show.
What if they're little? And I've always said, what if they're little ant people? Like they came from one gigantic ant colony where there was no war. Everybody's in a hive mind scenario, so they've never had combat. They never had France and Britain warring with each other for centuries, and after centuries driving the production of firearms technology and all sorts of weaponry. They don't need a lot of guns in space because it's not too crowded. They show up completely unprepared, not even understanding the concept of interspecies war or conflict in general, perhaps. Maybe they've never even had disagreements because of the hive mind. So the idea of having to solve a disagreement with violence that's a step beyond where their minds could even go. But then they show up fucking here wanting all our sugar. And we got so much. And where do they come? USA, baby. They come for the sugar. And we take them down. We take them down. They don't even understand our technology. And the whole planet, Russia too, we launch all of our nukes at their ant spaceships. All of them. We send all the nukes into space at the ant ships, and we completely destroy them. But and in the next day, we realize we just completely got rid of all the nukes. Nobody has nukes anymore. It's a new world. And so we get to live in that future where we've got ant technology. And there's a race.
I would not watch this movie.
You'd watch a season of it. You'd watch 6 episodes.
Watch a season of it. The ant people have arrived, and they somehow have the most advanced technology ever, and slingshots.
They've got ant drive. That's it. They've got space travel.
But then you get season 2 where we figure out how to weaponize the ant technology, and we have
the
super
termites
nukes.
show up. The termites were chasing the ants.
You're too fixated
on
warrior species, man. You're so fixated on bugs.
You want them to be monkey people like us? So I want them to be insects.
Yeah, I would like them to be monkey people.
The insect life cycle is really neat too. Like imagine if it's a hierarchy of bugs where they kind of like Starship Troopers.
A praying mantis,
but more
top,
diverse. I need more diversity. I need like millipedes, like running around getting intel and shit. And I need like flying, like fluttery stuff. Like I need a worm boss, like Jabba the Hutt, but he's a big brain worm.
We could defeat their society by teaching them racism. Get all the
the queen would be sexy though. You do like a sexy ant queen. Like she'd have human titties inexplicably.
I would want like some sort of insect pope, but he's a mantis, one of the mantis family. That's a very regal.
Ooh, you guys are getting very close to just describing the plot of Halo.
Large mantises are terrifying.
Yeah, a big mantis, and he's the only one that can speak English. Actually, now, why am I encouraging this? I don't like this idea. I don't like.
All right. Well, I mean,
Like,
you
what if there were
pick
multiple
yourself.
alien species and you had like a prophet of truth or something like that? That was just like an alien bishop.
See, now this seems like it has legs. They could make a 3-game, 5-game series about it.
Yeah, but the Spartans are
People love
stupid.
it.
I don't want to do that. I want some little space marine guys. Like
They'd have to all be the same kind of insect. Because I've watched enough of those Japanese videos that if you put like different insects together, they make no bones and waste no time about like
but they've
going to
maybe,
the throat.
But they're intelligent. They've evolved, and like maybe the master race has like some sort of pheromone signaling they can do to control the lesser bugs.
That's kind of fun. I like that.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think the ant people would get the technology except through war with the mantises and the millipedes, right?
I think it's and the
'Cause if they lived in
termites.
peace forever, it would just
The
be
termites are like
nobody
their
would evolve.
their arch enemies, the termites. They go at it big time. Yeah, I think the termites spit acid. If that Pixar cartoon was
Are
telling me the truth.
ants? Yes, yeah. I remember watching that as a kid and being like, they're marching off to war. Do you remember that part?
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
very beginning, and he's like, "Look out! These guys, spit." Is the guy's voice the same as Putty from Seinfeld? That big ant, or is it?
I think it's Stallone. I think it's Sylvester Stallone.
Be careful, they spit acid, or like whatever. I don't remember who it was.
do it.
But I remember the
Yeah,
big
if you
ant.
watch Rocky, you could do a better Stallone.
I'm never gonna watch it. I don't give a shit about that fucking gay movie. I'm not gonna watch
That's
it.
right.
It's Sylvester Stallone.
It's such a dude. It gets you so pumped, and the soundtrack's so good. Eye of the Tiger, the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of your rival. You're the last survivor
just saying the whole song.
in the dead of the night.
I wanted to add, so I'm thinking about buying a car next year, and I wanted to.
Yeah, cars.
I like so I like the Cybertruck. I'm thinking about getting a Cybertruck. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see your reaction, whether it was that or it was, oh yeah, and I think I got my answer already. So
you need that cyber.
So if it's not the Cybertruck, here are my other thoughts. Like
Yeah.
probably a high end Camaro or Mustang.
Okay. Look, my recommendation is to start with a vehicle that is based in reality, Earth.
Okay.
I would not start with a fantasy movie prop that is not actually a real vehicle that can be built. So while I have no problem with the cars that Tesla builds and sells and that you can show up and buy and drive, I've driven them all. I think they all are fun in their own way. I think they make EVs cool and they look good and they do most of what they're advertised, with the exception of full self-driving, which of course is nowhere near that. But I don't believe that the Cybertruck can be built as it looks in the concept phase. Certainly not if it is going to be sold in Europe, and if he really thinks he's going to build a new vehicle from scratch and not sell it globally, he's an idiot.
They shrunk it a little bit. Did you hear that?
Look, I think he operates that company by, here's a fucking crazy idea. Now engineers go figure out how to make crazy idea work.
Steve Jobs style. Yeah.
Occasionally those ideas are fun and whimsical and yield fun cars. And I think, but those ideas are what drive the hype of Tesla and the sale of stock, which is really the sale of stock and not the sale of cars is why Tesla is valued where it is. Okay. And so unfortunately their hype machine needs to keep going. And so I don't believe, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I've said it a bunch of places, but I don't believe that the movie prop Cybertruck you saw on stage that he smashed the fucking window with, which is one of the greatest videos of all time. I don't think what you would see if they do make a pickup truck, and call it Cybertruck, it's not really going to look anything like that. And so I would take a very wait and see approach, and I would not plan any car buying decisions based on availability of that vehicle.
So why do you think the Cybertruck won't be made?
There's a reason that cars don't really look like that right now, and the reason is typically is regulatory.
Part of it is just consumer resistance, right?
Consumer resistance. Well, first off, you can't build a car that's an exoskeleton like that, where the whole body is just because of how
unibody cars, though, right? Like
there's unibody. No, but unibody is different. He's not talking about unibody. He's talking about where the body is the structure, and it's not. It will not meet, first off, the Euro pedestrian standards at all, which are much stricter than US's, but I don't think it'll meet the US's either. If it did, the only way it would is if you called it a certain class level of commercial truck, which, okay, maybe they'll do that. But wouldn't it be kind of fucked up for this company that's sort of preaching environmentalism and sort of the moral authority to build something that was intentionally heavier to skirt a pedestrian safety regulation? Like, to me, that's like real grimy. And I just think, and again, I may be proven wrong, I don't know everything there is to know about car design. I don't know everything there is to know about engineering. Far from it. But I know a bunch of car designers and I know a bunch of engineers, and they're all like, nah. and they don't actually have to build it the way they showed it for it to do what it had to do. What it had to do was get a bunch of people excited enough to put down a very low deposit amount so that they could turn around and go to big banks and go, we have a new product with 200,000 pre-orders. Mm-hmm. Now give us $1 billion. And that's what they did. And that giant loan, and I don't know the exact amount, but it's an enormous amount of money in the nine figures. That loan is not contingent or that money is not contingent on building the exact Cybertruck they showed on stage. So they could backwalk that and change anything and build a fairly normal looking vehicle at the end of the day. And they still got their money. They still got their valuation.
Is that, like, if you had to guess, is that what you might think? Is that it is going to end up being a really way more traditional looking truck? Maybe the front's a little more angled, but it's like a Ford on the back.
Yeah. I mean, I think that ultimately if they end up making a pickup truck of some kind, that it will look a lot ultimately like that Rivian R1T pickup truck, which has a little more.
I don't like the look of that.
I don't like certain elements of it, but I think a pickup truck has got to be a fucking pickup truck. There's only so many people that in reality really want to drive a Total Recall movie prop.
I do so bad. That's
Elon's only seen two movies: Total Recall and Spaceballs. These are the only two movies he's ever seen.
I fucking love Total Recall. Those calico machine guns they're running around with on Mars. Everything about Total Recall, I fucking love it. I bought a calico machine gun just because they used them in Total Recall.
So
that's awesome.
All right, I want to talk about the Rivian for a second. We skirted right past that. That truck is cool, and I like what they did.
It is cool.
So electric trucks aren't great at some truck things. If you're a landscaping company and you're pulling a trailer with you everywhere you go, and the thing is completely wind resistant, I guess, the opposite of aerodynamic. So it's got that big tailgate that drags through the air everywhere. The electric truck's probably not the best truck for that job. It's got a lot of weight.
Towing in EVs is bad.
Right. But if you have a truck for some other reason, because you take your mountain bike to the trails all the time, because I have a paramotor, that's an uncommon use case, because you like kayaking or whatever, the Rivian is so perfect for you. These light, large loads, if you're a camper, and Rivian doesn't seem to be pretending that 18 years from now it'll be a clapped out landscaping truck. They're like, no, you're an engineer who plays trail enthusiast on the weekends. Do I have the car for you? And it's perfect for that. And I like that they didn't pretend they were something else, a diesel replacement.
Yeah, but no, it's a light used truck, huh?
Do you like the way these look? Like, I'm just looking at the gallery because I wasn't familiar with the problem.
Rivian. Like all I care about,
especially from the side, it looks just ridiculous.
Oh, it looks awful. That to me looks like a Tacoma on the side from like several years ago, and the front it looks like
an electric razor.
It looks like one of those European cars that you don't even know the name of, like with the headlights. You're like, what is that? Oh, it's Pugat Moopy Poo.
Yeah, does the Alfa Romeo? Who gives a fuck?
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about like a Fiat Multipla or something.
Yeah, like something they don't have here.
It's got like 4 small seats, and it's like
super
British
frog
family
looking.
of 9.
It's made for those narrow ass European roads that it just has no use
And those
place
narrow
here.
ass European people.
Yeah, exactly. That too. All right, I want a man.
No, look, I'm not. I don't need
fit a
to
large
defend,
man.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know. If you don't like how the Rivian looks, whatever. You don't like how it looks. What can I do? What can I tell you? But I think it's real. The one you can buy. I don't know if you can buy it just yet, but I think pretty soon. I don't know what they're doing with their dealer network. Starting a car company is very, very hard. Okay, and I don't think everything that Tesla does has been bad or wrong. I think one of the reasons they've been so successful during the pandemic is you fucking buy their shit on a website, like everything else. Like everything online ordering is amazing, and so why should buying a car be different? And that is very appealing to a lot of people. I don't think the rest of the car making universe understands quite how much everyone hates their dealers. And so eliminating dealers is really appealing to the general consumer. And also, if you're not that into cars, a Tesla as an extension of your cell phone, I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah. I absolutely get it.
We had another car person on. What's his name? Thank you, Vin Wiki. You live in the same circles as
Ed Bolian. I just saw him last week. I just did some stories for him on his show.
He's a good guy.
Oh, that's cool. Are they uploaded yet?
I fucking did like 12 of them in 4 or 5 hours. I gave myself a 10-hour layover in Atlanta to go do a bunch of them to promote my new show, which is called Sorted. It's a tuner car shootout. If you're interested in that kind of thing, old school magazine style tuner car shootout. It's on YouTube, but you can find all the episodes at sortedornot.com. New episodes every week. And so I went to go do some things. I did like 12 stories in 4 hours and then went back to the airport and flew home.
Super cool.
So what was Ed saying about what?
He called a Tesla as a car an appliance, right?
Yes,
and
it is.
Somehow that seemed really fitting. Appliances kind of just work, right? They're electric oftentimes. Many of them are just like the other ones.
Mm-hmm. And the best one is always the newest one. There's no nostalgia for an appliance. There's no emotional connection. No one really wants a 2013 Model 3. You know what I mean? They're not going to be collectible. I think they're lovely for what they are, but I think that they are among the world's first truly disposable cars.